Good morning. Happy Mother's Day. I want to take this time to thank my fabulous mom and say Happy Mother's Day to you also. Thank you for everything you've done for me and my family and my children. It's been amazing, and I love you so very much, and Happy Mother's Day today. And I want to say now thank you to all those other mothers out there, and want to say Happy Mother's Day to you guys also. I'm at my mom and dad's today, and we're going to have a Mother's Day celebration. So I went and got this watermelon from the farmer's market the other day. This watermelon is probably one of the most perfect watermelons there is. It's been completely, totally organically grown. It's had no pesticides or herbicides, no genetically modified seeds. The soil was perfect with all the proper alkaloids in it. The water that was given to it had no chlorine, had no fluoride. So it's completely been untainted by any of the bad toxins. So being a man, what I want to do today here at Mother's Day is enhance this watermelon to give it more flavor and to really, bring out all the taste. So I've got some special ingredients here today that I'm going to use to help that happen. The first ingredient I'm going to use is MRC-5. A lot of you probably don't know what MRC-5 is, but it's the aborted fetus from the 1960s that they utilized to manufacture many of the vaccines. MRC-5, there was a study that was done by Corvella, and in this study they found that first and foremost the DNA of MRC-5 was completely intact in the MMR vaccine. And not only was it completely intact, it also had 560 potential cancer genes in it. So that should be a really good ingredient for this watermelon. And then I'm going to take WI-38. WI-38 is the female aborted fetus from the 60s. WI-38, the female baby, where now they've been able to take both boy and girl aborted fetuses and utilize their DNA to grow out the vaccines. And I found that very interesting through my research, and I began to wonder, is that why we have so many children that are born today, later on in life they don't know whether they're a male or if they're a female? Could it be because of these two aborted fetuses are being used to make the vaccines, and you have DNA from both male and female? Something to think about. That being said, next I'm going to take aluminum. Aluminum is always something that's very good. It's a neurotransmitter and will add lots of flavor to the watermelon. After that, I'm going to take mercury. We've been told that mercury's been taken out of the vaccines, and that's an interesting story because yes, it has been, but what they've done is on the label, if it's a small enough amount, they do not have to put it on the label. So even though it's been taken out, it's still in trace amounts, and when you have to take as many vaccines as you do, those trace amounts, I believe, continue to build up. And I know mercury is something that we don't want inside of us, but hey, the government says it's safe. The next thing is glyphosate. A lot of people don't know much about glyphosate. Glyphosate is the active ingredients in Roundup. And one of the things that's interesting is that it was never patented as a weed killer. Glyphosate was patented as an antibiotic. And because now 75% of all of our rain around the world has glyphosate in it, there's cross-contamination when they're making these vaccines that has glyphosate, which is patented as an antibiotic. So I think that's really good to add to the watermelon here, some antibiotics. Next is formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is always a really good ingredient that when we die they use to preserve the body and to preserve us. So that would another really good ingredient to add to this watermelon. The last two is going to be polysorbate 80. I'm going to put, and then polysorbate 20. I'm going to put into the to the watermelon, these have been known to cause infertility. And people don't realize this now, but 3% of all the men in the U.S. are infertile, and 4% of the female are all infertile. Could it have something to do with this? I don't know. You know, what do I know? But what I do know is that you moms out there would never allow your children or yourself or even your worst enemy to eat this watermelon. So here on Mother's Day, after doing this watermelon, I know you guys would not touch it and would not eat it. So the question I'm posing to you guys today, especially you mothers, is if you wouldn't allow your worst enemy to eat this watermelon now, why are you okay with them taking these ingredients and injecting it into your children? I hope it's because most of you don't know about it, but now you've been told, and now you need to do the research for yourself, because these ingredients, I believe, are not good in any form of the fashion. People will say that, you know, we eat aluminum, we eat mercury, it's in the fish, this and that. That is so very true, but it's completely different eating it versus having it, injecting it directly into the body. That being said, with this watermelon, you need to know a few things that they're not telling you, and that is, they keep saying the science has been settled with vaccines. The science is settled, Christopher. Well, if the science was settled, why has $4.2 billion been paid out in the Vaccine Injury Act? People don't know this. $4.2 billion has been paid out to those children that died and had damages. And the interesting thing that we were told by the CDC that less than 10% of those people that are damaged even report to the Vaccine Injury Act. They also say that, there's a law that tells us we cannot sue the vaccine companies. If your child is damaged, the vaccine companies are completely and totally exempt of all liability. That should be very scary to you. What they also don't tell you is that since the schedule's changed, there's almost 70 plus vaccines your child will take between now and 18 years old. There's never been a study done to show that this new schedule's safe. No study's ever been done to show that the schedule's safe. People don't know this, that the studies that they've done with vaccines, they never have to use a randomized placebo study. That's the gold standard for all drugs in the world. A double-blind, randomized placebo study. Vaccines don't have to go through that. RFK, a few years ago, proved in the court of law that they were supposed to be doing safety studies. Not one single safety study has been done in the last 35 years on vaccines. But we're told the science is settled. I know the science isn't settled. One of the points I want to make is that in 1965, 4% of the U.S. population had some form of chronic disease. 4%. As of 2015, 45% of all children in the U.S. have some form of a chronic disease now. Why is that? We need answers. I know that the schedule of vaccines we're giving our children has changed. Could that be a contributor? It's very, very possible. And it deserves somebody to do a lot of research and find these things out. So I ask that you moms on Mother's Day take a long look at yourself and please do the research on these vaccines. For the moms that their children have been damaged by vaccines, please speak out to me. I want to hear your story. We have to tell these stories. I spent the last 7 years of my life since the government came in and shut my company down trying to find out those things that I know will help the body heal itself from any and all disease, especially vaccines. So I want to talk to you moms that have had your children damaged. The moms that haven't had children yet and are thinking about having children. You owe it to your child to do the research on vaccines. And one of the things I want you to think about is before the child is even 24 hours old in the hospital, they take that beautiful, perfect baby that's been made in the image of God and they give it the hepatitis B vaccine. At 24 hours old, hepatitis B is a sexually transmitted disease. You and your husband will have been tested for it. So if neither one of you have it, why are they giving that to that baby at 24 hours old? You also can be transmitted by sharing intravenous IV needles. I don't think in the hospital your baby's going to be sharing any IV needles, and I surely don't think why your child at less than 24 hours old in the nursery is going to be having sex. So why does it make any sense to you moms? Why do they do this? I think why they do it is because they know that as soon as they give that hepatitis B vaccine to that child, the brain begins to bleed immediately. It begins to bleed so much they have to give it vitamin K to slow the swelling of the brain, to coagulate the blood. And that's very interesting to me. That perfect baby that we've given hepatitis B at birth. So, with that story being said, I know you moms won't eat this watermelon. There's no way in hell you'll eat this watermelon. So do the research on these toxic ingredients that are going into your children. And this coronavirus thing that's going on, it's not about a virus. It's about the vaccine that's going to be coming. And that vaccine manufactured by Bill Gates and his cronies will not be of any good. And it will be something that will be the worst thing, I believe, ever done to mankind. So we have to take this time to speak out about these things, because the mandates are coming. It's going to be mandatory if we don't speak out that every man, woman, and child, before they're able to go to their football game, before they're able to go back to work, before they're traveling on an airplane, that they will have to have their vaccine unless we speak out. So please help me speak out. Please talk to your families and friends about these things and ask them these simple questions. I want to say in closing, I'm not a medical doctor. I do not practice medicine without a license. Anything I've said to you today has been my opinion, which I believe is backed up with scientific research, supported by my First Amendment right of free speech and the Constitution of America. So, please do what the Lord tells you and commands you to do, and test and prove all things. Not some things, but test and prove all things. And when you do that, He'll show you the truth. And the truth, it will make you free. Thank you.